My grandfather Newell was quite a preacher, and he would take trips all over the country and preach at different churches. And sometimes he'd preach on the train, be on the train, and he'd have especially on Sundays, he'd always preach on Sunday. And he grew old, and his wife had died, and he done a lot of work down there at the Beulah Cemetery. So he decided he'd dig his own grave. So he dug his own grave, and walled it up with rock. And then he had got a big sheet metal cover to put on it to keep the rain and things off. So when he died, nobody'd have to dig his grave, but all they had to do was to fill it up. Then he put up a marker, a great big stone marker with his name and everything on it. And it was a tall thing. It was probably 8 feet tall and about 10 inches square. When he died, he invited people to come to his funeral, and he wanted to have everybody bring their own dinner and have a big picnic and celebrate, because the Lord was taking him home, and he wanted everybody to be thankful and rejoice and to think that he was going home. So I asked, mother was telling me about this, and I asked mother, I says, well, did you do it? Well, mother says, kinda. So when they had the funeral, my sister Violet told me that Grandma Parrott, Granddad Newell's daughter, coffin in the grave, she fainted and very near fell in. And my mother saw it, and she screamed. Mother was the kind that would scream when something awfully happened. So mother screamed, and they had to, Aunt Clem and Aunt Mandy and Ivanette, they all run up and grabbed my mother and told her, now listen, she's all right, everything's all right, now you just calm down and take it easy. So they did, and that was about the end of that. However, Granddad Newell, when he put that monument in there, he had thought he'd done a good job, but it got to leaning, and it was really leaning over, about ready to fall over. And my brother Claire and I, we thought we better fix it, so we went down there and we dug that stone out of the ground, and down where it was in the ground, Granddad Newell had went down to the creek and got a whole bunch of white sand and put that stone in that sand. He thought he'd done a perfect job, but sand was not the thing to use because it had leaned over. So Claire and I, we put cement around it. Then Granddad Newell had put a fence around that with real fancy iron railing around it. And it is a beautiful fence, about 12 feet all around it, 12 feet length. And when the World War come on, why, government wanted all the iron, all the scrap iron that the farmers get a hold of, donated to the government to melt down and put into tanks. So Claire, he goes down and he thinks, well, that fence ain't doing anybody any good now. So he donated that fence, that fancy fence, to the government, and it turned into tanks, and that helped win the war.